Okay, so if you have ever wanted to put your trailer winch inside of a box like you see over my shoulder right there, this is the video for you because I just did it for free. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to take this aluminum box, mount it on the front of my trailer, and it is going to hold my winch. Basic idea of how I'm going to do this is I've got these old shipping brackets. These were just corner pieces from them. And my trailer has the angled pieces, and then here's the bed, right? But then it has one down the center. So on this center one, and it's like 2x6 channel or something. So I'm gonna set these on there, mark it out, and I'm gonna basically sandwich it like so. So from there, this piece, well, I'm gonna have to cut this off. This is also just an old shipping bracket, but I'm gonna have to cut it off because this piece angles downward. And I really only need to about right where this mark is at. So this is gonna go inside of the box. And the bolts are essentially gonna run through this into the bottom of the winch, and then there's gonna be another set of bolts that come basically through here, through the bottom of the box, and then through here, and get all cranked down. So then at the end of the day, all I got left to do is mount this roller fair lead on the front and cut a slot in it for this, and then it'll be good to go. Now the downside to this particular box is there's not going to be probably enough room for a 12-volt battery. I do have an Optima yellow top out in my parts Jeep out there, so I don't know if I'll just throw it in the truck when I need to use this, or if I just want to run some really heavy gauge leads from the truck out to this. But that, honestly, that's going to come after I get all this stuff figured out. All right, so the first thing I did was flip the winch upside down, and I used this to make a template for the hole pattern, because if it came with one, that's long since gone. And I'm going to transfer that onto here and drill those holes out. I'm hoping I can actually utilize these. I'm about to find out. Well, they're bigger than I want, so I might have to sleeve them, but I can most definitely use them. They do line up. Yeah, and see, there's my mark right there for where I'm going to cut the excess of this off, because I just don't see any reason to leave a bunch of extra weight in there. By the way, the winch I'm using is a mile marker 8,000 pound. It's got the on-off switch right here. This thing had been mounted on my Jeep for years, and it never did me wrong. There is a pinch in the cable, probably 10 to 15 foot up. So I'm probably gonna just cut it off there and get a new end crimped on it, because I don't really need like 75 feet of cable for a trailer winch. So I'm just gonna get rid of that bad spot. So these holes look bigger, but there's actually, it's just 3/8 nuts that are sitting inside of there. So I know that's what size holes I need for the bracket. So let's get that done. Okay, so this is essentially what it's gonna look like underneath. This piece of scrap tubing is 2-inch. It's exactly the same as what's out there, except for the one out there is like 2 inches longer this way. But I'm just using this for the sake of figuring out where I want these to sit on here. I wanted to point out that I'm doing this for 100% free. Everything you see here is stuff that I either scavenged or had laying around. I mean, this is all 1/4-inch steel. I'm not sure, but I think the trailer beam out there is 1/8. So if you do need to source some of this stuff, I'm pretty sure you could get most of this steel relatively cheap. I mean, you could go out and pay, you know, $100 bucks or something for a winch plate, or you can just go see what your local steel yard has for C-channel. A lot of times they'll have cutoffs or remnants or things like that that you can get relatively inexpensive. As far as those yellow pieces, those would be pretty easy to fabricate either out of some angle iron or just some 1/4-inch steel plate and some gussets. So you can definitely do this yourself relatively cheap or free if you're resourceful about how you come about getting this stuff. Anyway, I think I'm gonna get these marked out and then drill those 4 holes, and I do believe I'm gonna put a third bolt on here, so I'll probably just clamp these together or even tack weld them together real quick so that I can just basically drill straight through both pieces. So I wanted to make this a 1/2 inch hole to use 1/2 inch bolts, but this is as low as I can get my super junk drill press to go. So the biggest bit I can get in there is a 7/16. I'm gonna do that. I might try to use a step bit or just say to hell with it and get a 7/16 bolt for the third one. Okay, so I was mocking up this fair lead, and if I use this lower set of holes and set it up here, it gets, the bottom of it's like above flush, like it's right there or whatever, so I know it won't interfere with my deck. So got some holes punched ready to drill. The only thing is this is pretty close to like dead even with the bottom of this roller, and I know the spool of the winch goes lower than that, so I'm gonna notch this out, and that way I'll be able to mount this right to it and not have to worry about mounting it on the flimsy box. Taking the old portaband to this, I kind of like using the portaband instead of the grinder just because it still makes a dusty mess, but it doesn't throw sparks everywhere and all that stuff. Plus, you know, it's pretty easy to follow a line with one of these things. Most people think of these as like a plumbing tool, but it's like probably my favorite way to cut metal. Alright, so now that everything's cut out and all my holes are drilled, I'm gonna set it up in this box. So I marked a center line on the box and on my plate. So I'm gonna go ahead and line those up and mark out all these holes, and also the slot for the winch cable to go through. I wanted to make sure that these holes lined up with the winch before I did anything, so I stuck those 2 bolts in, and you can see these are the ones that I said I needed the spacers on, but they are good and centered, so now I know that they're accurate enough that I can go ahead and trust those holes that I marked in there. Alright, so there we go. It all lines up. I gotta find a bunch of hardware and we're gonna start bolting this all together and see how it all fits.
So I'm mostly just doing this project in my spare time. It's been a couple days, but I'm ready to get back at it. We're gonna cut the hole in this box for where the cable runs through, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get this plate mounted to the box, get the winch mounted to the plate, and then we're gonna go test fit it on the trailer. So I basically drilled a couple little holes kind of around the corners. Well, I transferred the line to the outside because I had it on the inside of the box, and drilled some holes so I can get my sawzall in there. It's gonna hide behind this roller fair lead anyway, so it doesn't have to be pretty. So this is just a really rough cut, but it's enough for me to go ahead and bolt this all up and test fit it. So there's that. It's a bit of a tight fit, but we'll make it work. So I guess I probably should have put this off center a little more. I thought centered would be good, but let me just show you what happened. So I kind of ended up a little too close over here. I mean, it's fine, except for the on-off switch for this winch is right there. But I can also dismount this box and move it, or even put it on this side or whatever. So also, before I bolt this down, I gotta get these little bolts through here so that I can bolt the fair lead on out here.
The next day.
Okay, so this is my trailer, and came out here and drilled a couple holes. My third hole ends up too high, so for now I'm just gonna run with 2 just to get this thing on there, and then I might come back and drill this like a lot closer. Might even have to use a smaller bolt and mark it and drill all the way through the whole thing. So now it is ready to bolt it together and see how it looks. All in all, I think I like it. I just gotta wire it up. So I think what I'm gonna end up also doing in here is I'd like to make like a little thin aluminum divider. I can probably screw it right onto this back lip here, and that way I can keep all my straps and stuff on this side and it won't get tangled up in the winch drum and in the cable and stuff. So I can already see something else I need to do to go along with this. This thing isn't exactly a low boy, and I can see this winch line really digging into that piece of steel right there. So I'm thinking about getting some kind of like a wheel, almost like a snatch block wheel to put there for the cable to ride on. And then I gotta figure out if I'm gonna put a battery on here somewhere or just run leads from my truck.
So as soon as I figure out how I want to wire that thing, I'll probably make that in a separate video, just because that's a whole other thing altogether. And I honestly, more Jeep parts came and I need to get back on this thing because it's almost done. If you want to check that out, sub to the channel. I've got a whole bunch of videos on this build of my Jeep, and it's actually almost done and it's almost ready to take out for the first test drive, and I'm getting super stoked about that. So I'm gonna get back on that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
You got birds after you again.
Katya! 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 Katya!